Beautiful. Nathan Hindmarsh, thank you for joining me on NRL Fans WA.
No worries, Jamie. Thanks for having me, mate. I know you've taken some time to track me down, but we're finally doing it.
Yeah, that's it, mate. No, I understand that you're a busy man, mate. With the Matty John show, and all your other stuff, your family. So I understand you're a busy man these days, mate.
All good, bud. All good.
Jump into a bit of your career. We're going to jump into obviously what you do on the Matty John show. But yeah, first of all, I'll just give you a bit of a rundown of what I try to do with this page, mate. I'm trying to promote the game here in Perth, get more people involved, more people playing the game, and especially with the possibility of this 18th team coming up. So, who knows what the possibility is there.
You never know, mate. You never know. I wouldn't mind it in, well, it's meant to be the National Rugby League, so I wouldn't mind it in Perth. But
yeah.
You look at the Dolphins at the moment, and their struggle to sign, I suppose, really top class players. I think everyone was in the same boat when the new franchise was announced, that they'd quite easily, get whoever they wanted because of the money they're involved. But yeah, they're seeming to find it a lot more difficult than what I think they thought. So another team, an 18th team is. Look, I'm not saying no, but I think it's going to be, with the talent that's around, trying to facilitate that could be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think that I don't know if you've seen in the news and stuff that North Sydney Bears and Perth have been talking. I think that's a really good idea in the sense of it shares the talent. So whatever talent's here in Perth as well gets shared with the North Sydney Bears and vice versa. And it gives the team a name and a following, especially over East as well.
Well, I think that's the thing. I think, but for us over this way, giving you the guys the opportunity over in Perth, over WA, the opportunity to have your own team, and it's a tricky one because you're so bloody far away from everyone.
Yeah.
And also too, with obviously the Western Reds that you used to have over there, and they're no longer there anymore. But to have how many teams now in Queensland? I see you wearing your shitty Broncos jersey there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're obviously not a WA boy. Are you a WA boy?
No, mate. No.
Dirty Queenslander.
Not technically. I was born in New South Wales, but I lived a lot in Queensland.
Okay, and now you've got a Kiwi accent.
Yeah, I've got a Kiwi missus and family, so yeah. I'm all over the place, mate. So
look, anything's possible. Anything's possible. So, and again, National Rugby League. I think if we want to try and get a really good foothold on the game as a national sport, I think Perth is a good option. I do, and if we want to look, we're never going to overtake, I don't think, the AFL over there. But if we can put a dent in them, I think that's a good thing. And look, and I shouldn't even say put a dent in them because I don't care as long as kids are playing sport.
Yeah.
But I think just another opportunity for someone to play maybe a different sport. I know you've got a bit of rugby league over there already, but to have your own side that the kids can look up to, the superstars of tomorrow that the kids can watch and progress into and want to be one day, I think that's only a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. With this, I guess the small talent that's around, and the struggles that the Dolphins have been facing with trying to sign players. One of the things I noticed with the AFL when they brought in GWS and the Gold Coast Suns was they got a bit of a salary cap exemption for a couple of years. Do you think that's something that they should look at?
Well, that's a possibility. I think a lot of sports do that all around the world. I think what was it? In the ice hockey, the NHL, and the Vegas Knights, they got a bit of a salary cap exemption to go out and poach players, and they did really well their first season. I think they might have won it the first season. So,
yeah.
I think I think that's something they can look at.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, though, with that cap, if they do get that exemption, you don't want them to go and steal everyone. You know what I mean? Because as I said, the talent pool at the moment, they're struggling to fill the Dolphins at the moment with those top quality players because no one wants to go there. Or not I'm saying no one wants to go there. Clubs are still able to retain their good players. So the draw card is not just about money. I think it's about a lot of things. And at the moment, the Dolphins aren't really attracting anyone at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe that with that that the NRL didn't give them enough time to sort of be able to poach these players. Some of them weren't off contract, and like they didn't have a chance in a sense to get Nathan Cleary or whoever else it is.
It from where it does seem a bit rushed. Yeah, it does seem like it's kind of happened really fast, and maybe it's they haven't quite ready for it. But they've got the master up there in Wayne Bennett, who knows exactly what he's doing. And I think the important thing is they need to start well. They need to get players to start well. I think if they want to grab a little bit of that share of the support base up in Queensland, they'd want to have a good season. For the long run. If you look at the strong sides, they've got great supporters, which have been able to back them up a little bit there. But it's a difficult one. Look, everyone wants to see rugby league, but whether or not we get it in Perth or not, we're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, you would have been over here for Origin 2?
You know what? I flew in for Origin 2 on the Friday. I went to bed Friday night, woke up crook as a dog Saturday morning with tonsillitis, straight on a plane back home. This poor old bugger sitting beside me thought I was some sort of addict or something. I was shivering and shaking the whole bloody flight home, and he's looking at me going, "You all right?" I said, "No, nah." So he's probably gone home and tested himself. But yeah, so didn't get to see the game. I was over there a few years ago for the Origin a few years back, and I thought they did an outstanding service. The game was played really well. The venue was awesome. And look, I have no drama, throwing a game over there every now and then just to, see something different, give the fans what they want over there in Perth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there's a few teams that were coming over here. Obviously, COVID stopped all of that sort of stuff. But I've been to both Origin games. I've been to the few games that the Broncos played South, and then South played a few other teams. Manly and New Zealand were coming over here for a while. And they had decent crowds at all the games, and it's not like rugby league's not wanted here. There's a lot of Eastern Staters that have moved over here, ex-Kiwis, Islanders, all that sort of stuff. So I guess the support base is here, but it's just trying to get that stranglehold, back, especially from rugby union as well. Because
of course, yeah.
I found that a lot of our kids from basically 14 and up are going to union because there's no pathway here.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. But it's again. As long as it's any, obviously I'm going to push hard for rugby league. But as long as there's something that, and look, we're probably sounding like there's nothing happening in Perth or WA, but there's plenty still going on. But as we're both league fans, it would be good to see a team over there in WA, whether or not they're based in Perth or not. And going back to the North Sydney, the Bears thing, I think that's a great idea. The Bears have got the backing, they've got the support there, ready to go. They want a side, they want a Bears side in the comp. So it's just another avenue that hopefully will hopefully get it over there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll jump into your career, mate. One club player, which is pretty rare to see these days. There's not a hell of a lot of players. Two, obviously, yourself and Cam Smith are the big ones in the last 10 years or so. You played 330 games for Parramatta. When you were a kid, mate, did you support Parramatta or did you support someone else?
No, I couldn't stand Parramatta. No, I was a big Doggies fan growing up, big Bulldogs fan, Terry Lamb and all the good boys. And then I remember Jim Dimmick, Jason Smith, Jared McCracken era, Dean Pay, watching them in the grand finals, and then all of a sudden, a few years later, I'm playing with them. So that was a massive thrill for me. But no, not a Parramatta fan. My family were all Para fans. Well, my granddad, growing up a dairy farm, was very close family. So my granddad, dad, brother, all Para fans. My sisters couldn't give a rat's ass about the game. They'd go for anyone except Parramatta or the Bulldogs or whoever those two were playing. So just to really piss us off. But and then that was it. I was lucky enough to get scouted by Parramatta as a junior, and went from there. And I grew to love the club. I grew to love the history of the club. All the past players that's still involved in the club, they do a really good job in keeping everyone together, and just the history of the joint. It's I'm always learning something new from an old fan who will tell me something about a certain player or the venue itself or the area itself. So I'm glad I'm a part of that family.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only downside to your career, I guess, is that and I know all the boys give you shit about it all the time, but that you didn't win that premiership, which someone like yourself being the one club player for over 300 games, it's just one of those unfortunate things.
It is, mate, and it happens. Like there's so many players that go through their careers with not even being in a grand final. So I got to play in two. I got to experience two grand finals. Grand final day for me is still a pretty shitty day. Like starts okay when I'm got the barbecue on, I'm having a few beers, but then when you see them all celebrate at the end, I kind of get a bit not emotional, but I get a bit, and not shitty, but just I go back to the days when, oh geez, that must be a nice feeling to be able to do that. Do the lap of honour and celebrate with your teammates you've worked so hard with, for over 12 months, and in some cases, I got to play with Kalis for 10 years, Luke Burt for nearly the same. So that would have been a good opportunity. That would have been a good feeling to have won it with players you've pretty much grown up with. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You get to represent Australia on 23 occasions. New South Wales 17, country New South Wales as well.
Yeah,
only the one time for that one, and then you play in the All Stars as well. Basically at the end of your career, in a sense, when they put that in. When you played for Australia, because you got to play for Australia before New South Wales, how was that opportunity for you? Do you remember getting the call up and all that sort of stuff?
My memory is shit. It is. I don't remember getting the call up. I remember it was for the 2000 World Cup, so just about to go overseas. So I remember, and I was brought in as an emu. So there's kangaroos, and then there's emus. So the emu is the players that if they're a part of the team, but they're not necessarily going to play, or if they do play, it'll be against the lesser known sides. And that's what I was. I went over as an emu pretty much to fill in the gaps if something happened to someone. So we went over there over to the UK, and I had an absolute ball. I was roomed with Darren Britt, that was made friends for life. 8 weeks over there, going over, trained hard, partied hard. Like it was a good trip. Like I didn't. Yeah. We pretty much drank. Well, we were told we drank 8 weeks worth of grog in 4 weeks. So we're having a good time. And back then, obviously, Australia was a very dominant team. The Kiwis weren't. They were a bit behind us still. The Poms were a fair bit behind us in regards to talent-wise. So it was kind of, without sounding like a dick, it was a bit of a lay down misère that we were going to win. Well, we felt that way anyway, as Aussies. But so I played against Russia, I played against Wales, played against Fiji as well over there, and then I got the call up to play in the final, and that was a big deal. For me, I was walking out there and in a Kangaroos team to play in a World Cup final at the age of 19, 20, and managed to score a try, got put over the try line by Trent Barrett, and celebrated well into the night after that. So it was a lot of fun, and got the tattoo on the arse to prove it. So I got the World Cup 2000s on the arse because over there, I think it was Freddie Fittler and all the boys from the 95 World Cup. Yeah, had one on their arse cheeks. And I went, oh, geez, that's not a bad idea. Not that I was looking at their asses in the shower, but it was there. You could see it. So I said, oh, boys, let's get a tattoo. And all the boys, yeah, sweet, let's get a tattoo. And the next morning, there was myself, Darren Britt, and Brian Fletcher, the only ones in the taxi to go get a tattoo. So, but we got it done. It's memories, mate. It's memories. Yeah, it's there for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. And not just the tattoo, obviously, but that experience playing in that World Cup final was something that no one can ever take away from you as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I get a bit of stick for, the little kids these days, little smart-ass kids. Yeah, show us your premiership ring. And I kind of think, well, I've won a World Cup. What have you done, you little bastard? I can't say that.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to throw that back in their face, isn't it? Yeah. When you play for New South Wales as well, like obviously being myself being a Queensland supporter, obviously you hate everyone in the opposite team. I hated everyone in New South Wales. But I absolutely loved watching you play. For mine, it was not just the main thing for me. It was just the effort that you put in. Like you go out there and you put absolutely everything into, especially the first 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. You were at times throwing up on the field because you put so much effort into it. And that's as a rugby league fan, I love seeing that. yeah, how do you sort of look back on your Origin career? Because you had, like I said, you played 17 games. How do you
Yeah.
look back and want to be remembered for your Origin career?
Oh, I don't need to be remembered for anything, but I never really, I don't think I ever really grasped the Origin sort of arena. Like, I got to play a lot of Origins, but I never played the game I thought I was going to play. Like, you play your club footy and you go out there and you get the ball when you want the ball, sort of thing, and you know how to work your way into a game, if that makes sense. With Origin, I just went bang, just went all out. Did what I had to do, and that was. And I never really settled into the style of footy I wanted to play in Origin.
Yeah.
But I still loved every minute of it. I was lucky enough to get coached by some great coaches. Gus Gould was probably one of the best Origin coaches I've had. I had Sticky as well. But yeah, Origins, you get a lot more nervous playing Origins than you do for Australia. I do anyway, just because of the rivalry associated with Origin, and obviously the mate versus mate, state against state, played against the teammate Daniel Wagon in one of the series. PJ Marsh as well, who played for Parramatta, played with him in Parramatta. So it is a different feeling, and just it's probably the crowd rivalry that really instills what Origin's all about. The players, they dislike each other, but it's a crowd that promotes that even more. And never really got hold of Origin for myself, but I again loved every minute of it. Every camp, used to get picked on a Sunday afternoon. You get the phone call off your team manager, and he'd say, "Righto, Heine, pack your bags. You've been selected." And I remember the first one, I was absolutely shitting myself because you walk into camp, and I was. The saving grace there was I'd already played for Australia with a lot of these boys previously, but still very nervous. You doubt yourself. Do I belong in here? When you look around the room and you look at the players you're playing with, the caliber of players that are there, and you kind of shit yourself. But then after about half a dozen beers, you're all talking the same sort of crap, and you're all best mates. So that's the good thing about the bonding days. You have a few beers, nothing out of control, but you relaxed a little bit, and not everyone had to have a drink, but I enjoyed having a beer and a laugh with blokes I never probably would have had that opportunity to do otherwise.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Going back to your NRL career, like Parramatta, playing with your brother as well, Ian. How was that for you and the family? Both of you playing NRL, let alone the same team as well.
Yeah, I taught him everything he knew, pretty much. Yeah, even though he was older. So it was really good. And when we first, I think it made the progression for me moving from home. Like, it was only 2 hours down the road, but I was a homeboy. I still am. I like being home. I like familiarity. I don't like moving place. I don't even like moving house now that I'm 40s. If I had to move a house now and move somewhere else, I'd be shitting myself.
Yeah.
So the transition from the dairy farm, where I went to school with the same people, from preschool through to high school. I knew everyone. I knew all the parents. I knew adults. I knew the local police, all that sort of stuff. And then moving to Sydney, like straight after my HSC, righto, this is going to be your job. I didn't like it. I hated it. I didn't really give it too much time either to try and get a hang of it. But just even getting around Sydney, like it was daunting. Trying to open a Refidex, not a Refidex, the old
map books.
The maps on your lap while you're trying to drive. Where am I going? And then being late for training and hating being late for training, getting your ass handed to you by Brian Smith. So instead of you had to be at training at 8, I was up at 5:30 just so I knew I could get around somewhere. But having my brother there, it did make it a lot easier, and it also pushed us as well. Like, we were both very competitive people, but the fitness sessions at Parramatta, we'd push each other, and we'd improve each other that way, because we were brothers, but we're also competing for the same positions on the field. Yeah. So that kind of was part of it as well. I didn't want him to take my spot. He wanted my spot, all that sort of things. That's what kind of went on.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But for the family, Dad was very proud. So was my mum's still very proud. but unfortunately, he had to go to Canberra, and then we didn't really play much against each other. I think it was always I'd be injured or he was injured, or and we never really kind of met too often. I don't think. But my memory's shit, as I said. We might have played 6 games against each other. I don't know, and I can't remember any of them. But I'm pretty sure, if anything, he's got. I think Canberra had the wood on us, when we used to play against each other. Yeah. But Mum would go and watch more of his games than my games after that. He's a bit of a mummy's boy. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me. The older ones usually are, aren't
they? Yeah, they are.
Yeah. When you did make your debut for Parramatta, mate, do you remember getting the call up? Was it over the phone, or was it tap on the shoulder at training?
No, it was in the team meeting. It was in the team meeting during the week. And I think it could have been the Wednesday night. It was a night video session, and Brian Smith went, righto, you're in front of the team, you're in. He was tossing up between myself and Dallas Weston. And my initial thoughts were, oh shit, I've taken Dallas Weston's spot. I hope he's okay with that. That was my first reaction. I wasn't about, I've been picked. I'm going, oh shit, Dallas Weston. He's a first grader. I don't want to have taken his spot, and I felt bad about that. But then, once I left training, went back to the unit with Mitch. I was living with Mitchell Sargent at the time. I told him, he was very happy for me, and then got on the blower to Mum, and that was it. Yeah, so it was. And then we caught a bus down to Parks to play against the Adelaide Rams. Shitting myself. Legs would not stop tapping, shaking, sat on the bench, sitting in the sheds. I've never been more, not scared, nervous. But then you get out there and everything comes to you. You have a few runs and make a few tackles. And then it just happens for you. Alan Can ran over the top of me. I remember that. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, you bring us some old names there. The Adelaide Rams.
Alan Can. I know. You're wearing a Powers jersey. Yeah. So just remember your tree trunk legs running over the top of me for the Adelaide Rams. Yeah.
Wow. I just want to get into some sort of personal stuff. Just for the viewers that do watch this, mate. When you're going through your career, or maybe not even in career, just in life in general, mate, has there been a mental low point that you've gone through? And if so, how did you get through it?
Well, it was for me after when I retired, and I think it happens to a lot of us, and I was watching the Formula One, the Drive to Survive series, Formula One. Have you seen that? And this was after I went through all my stuff, but I heard them saying athletes die twice. Once when they finish playing or finish their sporting career, and then once when they're dead, right? And when I retired, it was in 2012, and I didn't deal with it. I didn't know how to deal with it, and that was it. So I had a good job at the NRL in the community department there. So I was working. I spoke to my wife when I retired, saying, "Look, I don't want time off. I'm not going to move away from anything or have an extended break because I just won't get started again. I've just finished 15 years of playing the sport I love. It's all I've ever known. So if I sit back and put my feet up for too long, I won't move again. I'll be bad." Yeah. And I felt it happening. So, but then I just was driving into NRL, and it was a good job in the NRL. But I just everything started getting weird and changing. I'd be getting upset in the car on the drive there, getting upset at home over nothing, like just feeling really down and out. And then we a couple of discussions with my wife, and then went and saw some professional help. Went and saw a psychiatrist or a doctor, put me on some medication, and then learned to know what triggers to look out for. And a big one for me is alcohol. Still, if I have a big night on it, and which I still do, I'm not going to say I don't have a beer, but if I'm having a good time with some mates at a barbecue or whatever, and if I'm feeling a bit groggy the next morning, sometimes that kind of spirals me into a bit of a low point. But I know it's because of the alcohol, and I know it's going to pass. So learning all those sorts of things, that's what got me through it a bit. But obviously the main support from my wife, and I'll go through bad days here and there, and she'll say, listen, she's good, my wife. She'll say, nah, snap out of it. you
Yeah.
carry on with the pork chop, or she'll baby me through it, and she knows what's what. You know what I mean? So she's been great. But I think a lot of players do go through it because you are lost. You lose that camaraderie. You know, your phone. It wasn't a game I missed. It wasn't playing on the weekends. I didn't miss that. I missed going to training, having that routine, having a laugh with the boys, working your ass off, and having a goal at the end of the week to win a game. But again, it wasn't about retirement. The footy I didn't miss. I didn't miss the shit feeling you had on game day of, oh God, I hope we win this game, and the nerves and the anxiety that come with game day feelings.
Yeah.
It was just the missing the boys. And you don't get a phone call. You don't. It's just, that's it. You're finished, and thanks very much for your service. We'll see you later.
Yeah.
But I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. I've made a good career out of it. I've set my family up better than I could have ever imagined, and I'm happy that I got to play the game. But it leaves you with an empty feeling when you've played like that for, so long. That was my life. And it sounds a bit corny, but it was my life. I loved it. Loved every minute of it, except playing.
But that's the thing, is that that becomes that's your job, and that's all is I think a lot of, especially the younger kids coming through these days. I mean, we've seen incidents with obviously Kalen Ponga in the last week or so. These people don't really understand that once their footy career is done, they go back into the real world where they have to work a Monday to Friday's job, and it's, the money's not as good as what you're getting at the NRL and all that sort of stuff. So
I think the NRL did some really good things when the NYC, when the under-20s competition was around, with the no work, no job, or no study, no work, no play.
Yeah.
So I think that gave that generation of players a little bit more of an understanding about, hey guys, this is not going to last forever. Let's try and get you into some work or study. And I think the players in general now are a bit more aware of life after retirement. They set themselves up a lot better. A lot of them are studying now. You've just seen, you might have seen, Cookie just got his diploma in health and movement, or health science, or whatever it was. But they're much more aware that shit could hit the fan quite quickly. I was lucky. I got to play 15 years, relatively injury-free, copped a few knocks here and there. But some players, they put all the effort in, they may get 2 seasons out, whether or not it's injury-related, they're just not up to scratch. So it can be over in a blink of an eye. Yeah,
absolutely. And like the other thing I want to talk about, especially with that low point, we've seen in the last couple of weeks with Paul Green's passing as well. Mental health. How the NRL and stuff like that, how they helped these young players and the players going through all this sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, well, I think when I was working at the NRL, I know there were so many things in place for the current player, and I think they're a phone call away from any service they need, the players these days. And I think the NRL does do a good job on giving the players the assistance they need, whether it's alcohol, drugs, relationship, depression, anxiety. The NRL, the players are a phone call away from any of that sort of stuff. And I think they've got it better than most people in regards to that service. Obviously, the pressure that comes with playing the game is not as, is not great. Social media doesn't help that, with online trolling and all those sorts of things as well, which is something I didn't have to deal with when I was playing. So there's a lot of different factors, but I think that the NRL's in that space are doing as good a job as they can do. And I know there's been some push to probably have a mental health round, which I agree on. Not saying they don't do anything in that space, but I think we have so many other rounds for so many other things. And what's been happening in our game, not just with, obviously it's very sad with what's happened with Paul Green, but there's also been some younger players that we haven't probably heard too much about that have done the same thing. So it's definitely a challenge, but it's a challenge in society as well, not just as rugby league players. I think it's going on everywhere, and it's difficult because generally the people that this is happening, they can mask it so well. And you just and that's a thing. how it affects us as, I suppose, as blokes at the moment. You can have your best mate, you might not even know. You might not even know. And that's the sad thing. And then the guilt comes on you for not asking the right questions. So there's a flow-on effect there. And it's a very difficult topic. And I don't think we'll ever get a handle on it. It's just one of those things we've just got to do our best to keep an eye on each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly before we jump off that subject, have you got any advice for people, the younger people, especially going through a mental health issue or depression or anything like that?
Talk about it. Talk about it. You know, I've just talk about it, and there's no harm in doing that. And if anything, you know, me talking to you about my struggles, it just makes me feel better. I feel better already from, you know, because I get down and out. I get a bit sad every now and then, but talking to people about it is, and I'm quite open with it. I am quite open with it. I don't care that people know that I've been on medication for it. It doesn't bother me one bit because it makes me normalise it. Yep. If that's the right word to use, I suppose, because it's, well, I'm going to use it. Fuck it.
Yeah, it gets the attention to it, you know, and that's, I think that's the thing.
But if I can talk about it like it's nothing, if I can talk about how I can talk about someone, maybe that's enough to make them go, fuck, you know what, I can talk to someone now about it. You know, if you know what I mean? Like if Heine can talk about it normally, like it's, you know, water off a duck's back, I can go and talk to someone about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because it's out there. And, you know, it's not going away, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, exactly. You know, I've got heaps of kids here, mate. So, like, it's one of the things I've got to look out for. Yeah, so I've got 9 kids that live in this household. So,
shit.
Yeah, that's only some of them, mate. We've got, between me and the partner, we've got 12 kids. So.
Okay, and that's a scary thing, you know. I've got 4 boys at home, and you know, it's important that we've been able to talk about it without putting pressure on them. But you know, kids come home with their head down, and you panic a little bit. Yeah. You know, I've got a 16-year-old son at the moment who's just he's good, but we watch him. Yeah, he's not doing anything wrong, but we just, you know, sometimes he'll come home and the head will be down, and you got to, you don't want to bombard him as soon as he gets in the door. You got to be, you know, the time and place. You don't want to close the door and pretend it's a big meeting, but you just got to probe a little bit. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Jump into what you're doing after footy, mate. So you're saying that before you were working with the NRL. What do you, besides for the Matty John show, what else are you doing these days? I know obviously your family. Got a bit of a property in the west of Sydney. What else are you doing?
I got little bits and pieces going on here and there, mate. I worked for a few companies. You know, Clubs New South Wales. I was a big advocate for responsible gambling, which I still am. Went through a bit of a bad trot with the pokies, but again, with talking to people and getting professional help, got through that okay. So for that, it's all about putting your hand up and asking for help before it hits rock bottom. You know, you don't have to have, you know, lost everything to have a problem with gambling. If you're not comfortable with where you're at with it, it's okay to put your hand up and ask for help. You know, so I'm not anti-gambling. You know, it's about gambling responsible, and that's what it is for a lot of people, especially the younger generations now. So do it. If you are going to do it responsibly. You're not, you know, it's not illegal. Can't stop you from doing it, but if you are going to do it responsibly. So Clubs New South Wales, little bits and pieces here and there, mate. Yeah, just keeping busy, keeping things ticking over. Yeah,
that's the way.
Kids.
Yeah. Oh, that's the way, mate. That's the most important thing, getting those kids out into the sports.
Yeah. They might as well stay at home some of the weekends, I tell you.
Yeah, I coached 2 of my son's rugby league teams this year, and I'm the vice president of the club as well, mate.
It's hard to watch sometimes, isn't it? It's hard to watch.
It is. One thing I do want to ask, and probably a lot of viewers, especially the Matty John show, would over here in Perth would want to know, how did your and Brian Fletcher's relationship become so, like, is there a comedy duo almost, you know? Oh.
It was a question.
Yeah, how did the comedy, because he's a comedy duo, especially on the Matty John show, mate. Used to work hilarious.
Well, I think Fletcher's the comedy side of things. I play the more straight bat, mate. I keep him on a tight leash so we don't get sacked. But no, it's just one of those things that happen. I was trying to be a serious sideline eye commentator, and I lasted one game and didn't get invited back. And then Fletch was also doing Super Saturday.
Yeah.
With hang on, decline. I'm going to decline that. Am I still there?
Yeah, mate.
Yes. Yep. Everyone's trying to call me at once. Bugger off! Who is this person?
Lucky we're not on a live feed. People would think that know that you're online or something.
Can you still see me?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Did you hear me? Oh, good piece.
Yeah, mate. Well,
got me. Yeah. So, and Fletch was trying to do. He was doing Super Saturday with Shervo.
Yeah.
And James Rochford, the professor. Remember the professor?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he thought, well, I'll put this little thing together for 2000 World Cup where we ended up beating Russia by a large score, and Fletch and I are both in it. And he made up this little thing that we did, and it went from there. Yeah. But I was on the lounge with Maddie, Gordon, and Lara.
Yep.
And we used to have a special guest come in every week from a player come in every week, and that was in the first year of the Matty John show. And then Fletch, after the second year, came onto the lounge, and that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
And it's just gone from there. So, as I said, Brian's the quick-witted, funny one, and yes, he is like that all the time. Nothing changes with him. He's a rat's ass. But he's a good man to work with. Gordon, he's our serious man that actually knows how to talk about rugby league. And Matthew's our boss, and we'll do anything for him.
Yeah, that's it. And I love the show. I watch it every Thursday and Sunday. I love watching you guys. You talk about the 40 points, and you've got the comedy as well. Well,
we don't. We've got on Fox League. We're lucky we've got NRL 360 and all the pre-game and post-game shows. Yep. And that's that's the big footy fix, I think, if you're right into your footy. But we just try and have a bit more of a lighter side of it and have a bit of a laugh, take the piss out of each other. Still talk about footy, as you said, the real main talking points if there's something to talk about.
Yeah.
But that's about it, really. So it works well, and people are still tuning in, watching us. So it keeps us in a job.
No, that's it, mate. Before I let you go, mate, just want to get your tip for the grand final. We're just out of the finals. Obviously, you got Parramatta there. Yeah. Besides for your Parramatta, who else do you think?
Oh, jeez. Look, there's so many teams I can rattle off at the moment. The confidence the Cowboys are playing with, even though they got rolled last weekend.
Yeah.
Roosters are scary. I think Roosters can be really scary for a lot of teams in this back end of the season. We've got 3 games left the rest of the year. And as soon as they make the semis, they're going to hurt a lot of teams, I reckon. I think Roosters have the potential to go all the way. Penrith will be there. South's on the back of Latrell. You never know.
Yeah,
it's just so geez, you put me on the spot. But I'm going to say Roosters are going to come from behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit of a slow start to the start of the year. People are writing them off early, but they've got the caliber of player. When they want to turn it on, they can turn it on. And I think they're going to scare a lot of sides. Yeah.
That's the team that scares me the most coming into the finals. And obviously the stats go against them being outside the top 4, but they're the team at the moment that the only team I could see doing it outside the top 4.
Yeah. I think Parramatta have to. The thing with Parramatta is they all have to play well. Para can't afford to have a couple of their big names not play well because that's just not how they're working at the moment. Broncos, unfortunately, mate, I don't. Kevy's done an outstanding job turning them around, but I don't think I can't see them featuring in the grand final. Penrith, obviously, they're going to be right up there. I think Cowboys are playing with enough confidence, and they're backing their ability and they're backing their game plan to get there. And they're a little bit exciting too, the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Same as South. South scare me as well because when they get it right, they get it right. But it's just about whether or not they're going to get it right on the day.
I think with me with South, it's if Latrell goes over the edge, then they're done. And that's at the moment he's found that sweet spot, but if it takes one little thing and he's done.
Well,
and
that's the thing, and I think because they play with so much passion, himself and Cody.
Yeah.
On the flip side, it doesn't seem to take much to rattle them either, and that's when they get rattled. They kind of lose a bit of their focus, and they'd rather, push and shove and instead of playing footy. And I think what we've seen from South the last couple of weeks, as you said, they've found their sweet spot. They're ignoring all the outside noises, and they're just playing some good footy.
Yeah, no, that's it. We'll stop it there, mate. Nathan Hindmarsh, thank you for joining me on NRL Fans WA. I really appreciate you giving me your time today, buddy.
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me on, bud. I had a good chat. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Have a good one.
Thanks, mate. Take it easy, bud.
Bye.